What is up, Omni Athletes? Today's episode of Omni Athlete is brought to you by Wild Zora Foods. So, if you are an athlete who believes in training the entire athletic life cycle, training, performance, recovery, and transition, and you look at sport through that lens of body, mind, and spirit like we do, because you're here to elevate your state of consciousness and global consciousness through sport, then you know how you fuel your body affects every single cell in your body and every single ounce of energy in your being. So we're not just talking about the physical being, we're talking about the mental and emotional and spiritual bodies too. What you put into your body matters. That's why we partnered with Wild Zora. They produce the most incredible meat and vegetable snack bars that I have ever tasted in my life. All that is in these bars, it's absolutely incredible, is organic free-range meat and organic vegetables, right? Organic grass-fed, free-range meat and vegetables. That's it. There's no added sugar. There's no added preservatives. The sugar in it is from the vegetables and the dates that they actually put in the bars. They're made in our backyard here in Loveland, Colorado. The founders, Josh and Zora, absolutely rock. We love these guys. It's an incredibly authentic partnership because we actually use the products. Heidi and I love their bars. You can routinely see me walking around Fort Collins with a stack of Wild Zora bars in my backpack. In fact, I'm out right now. So as soon as I get done right here recording this, I'm probably going to go get some and make sure that they're back in my backpack. For the month of April, Wild Zora is offering the entire Omni Athlete community 30% off any product that they offer. At checkout, just put in the code TEAMOMNI30, 30% off everything. And any of you athletes out there who are not meat lovers, maybe you're feeling yourself completely vegetarian, or maybe you're just not a huge fan of meat as an in-between snack on the go for your fuel, they also have vegetarian options for you too. They've got meals to go and just an entire range of products that serve you and that serve the entire athletic life cycle, whether you're a meatitarian, vegetarian, or something in between. So go check them out, wildzora.com. At checkout, put in the code TEAMOMNI30 and you can get 30% off anything, everything. Check it out. We love these guys. We want to see you support them because they're supporting us and support the mission of Omni Athlete, which is to bring higher consciousness into sport. Now, let's dive into today's episode of Omni Athlete. Welcome to another episode of Omni Athlete. You believe that you can be more, and so do we. We created this show and company to do it with you by empowering your performance with the wisdom and techniques of the world's highest achieving mind, body, and spirit competitors. Okay, so today's guest is a former professional hockey player who went from the brink of suicide to a spiritual awakening that set him on a path of self-discovery and radical transformation. Through the course of an intensive 21-day yoga and meditation retreat in India with his guru, he began the process of expanding his consciousness in a way that would unearth his latent capacities. After 5 years of playing professionally, he decided to walk away from the sport he had grown up loving to further explore the fullest expression of his authentic self and dedicate his life to sharing the power of spiritual awakening. Now, as a functional strength coach, sports nutritionist, and Dridhananda yoga teacher, he is on a mission to inspire his community to achieve their highest potential. It's my pleasure to introduce to Omni Athlete, the blissful athlete, Dridha. Welcome to the show, Dridha.
Thank you very much for having me. Greatly appreciate it. As I said before off camera, that I love what you guys are doing, and anybody that's tuning in, if you have not yet subscribed, you got to be following this channel, the Omni Athlete. I'm a big fan of what's going on here, and thank you for the kind introduction.
Big words, man. Thank you. There are a lot of places to start with this conversation, and what we were just talking about off camera feels like the place to start, which is the unique nature of hockey. And it's a giant concept, but we were just talking about how sometimes hockey seems to bring out these spiritual dimensions in us as athletes that maybe it doesn't get given the credit it needs to for.
Yeah. Hockey is one of those things where it truly takes the mind, body, spirit. And I think like a lot of sports out there today, we don't put any emphasis on that third component, that spiritual component. And we put a lot of time and effort into developing the physical body and not so much in developing the mind. We have some sports psychologists and things like that, but there's really a ton more that we can start to peek into to improve not only the athletes in the field of sport, but also how that's going to take fold into the rest of their lives.
So let's talk about the mental side of sport for a little bit too, because I think one of the things that you've spoken to, I mean, the content you produce, Dridha, is incredible, and you've brought this awareness of kind of what I would call the expansion of what the mental training we typically talk about is, right? So sports psychology is where most of us anchor. When we think mental training, we think visualization, we think positive affirmations, and a lot of what I think, and reframing and kind of cognitive behavioral therapy, and a lot of the very typical sports psychology pieces, which are important and a really great doorway. But there is a much bigger aspect of performance than just those pieces when it comes to what our mind allows us to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we can train our physical body to do so much. Like we can train, for instance, just staying in the field of hockey. Like you can train to work on your shot continuously, and you can train your mind to even think certain ways. But ultimately, every athlete knows like the one state you want to get into is the zone, or that state of flow. And we can slip into those states every now and then, but no matter how much you train on the physical side or even the mental side, you're actually still not working in the right direction to get into that flow state, which is really a higher state of consciousness. And so now if we're talking about improving an athlete and making a high performance athlete the athlete of the future, the next step to do that is to focus on one's consciousness and the expansion of it, and then playing from that state. So no longer are you slipping into it, but now you get into that state, which is really the easy part, but it's staying in that zone for a longer period of time.
What was the first experience you can recall or remember of really feeling that shift in consciousness yourself?
The first time I ever really experienced that, like to the fullest, was I was actually in India, and it was at the end of a program. I was introduced to this ancient, authentic form of yoga called Shiva Stamba Yoga. It's a pole yoga. And during the program, we were performing this yoga and learning about it, and it was awesome. As a hockey player, like we like hitting things, and I had just decided to take a step back from the game and focus on my spirituality. So I'm in India right now. I'm on this pole and I'm like winging myself around on this incredibly like cool form of yoga. And at the end of the program, there's this big demonstration, and we got to perform those that were like doing well at it. And because of my athletic background, I had the ability to be a part of that demonstration. And so I'm in front of 1,000 people. It's just like in a hockey game. And it was just like taking a penalty shot where everybody's looking at you. Everybody's looking at me on this one pole. And all of a sudden, as soon as I got up to it, and then I mounted onto it and started maneuvering almost like a gymnastic routine. And all of a sudden, it was just like I just sunk right into the moment. And I felt time slow down. I felt like the moment lasted forever. It was an incredible feeling of oneness and just melting into that space. And I always say the secret component of the zone is actually bliss, because you're so locked into the moment, nothing else can satisfy you. And that was the first real time that I dived into the zone in that deep of a state. I'd played professionally for 5 years that time before that, and I'd played 20 plus years of hockey, and I've slipped into the zone, but never to that depth where I truly understood and tasted what it was like.
What does that word bliss mean to you?
Bliss is a combination of anything that you can think of, where, let's say, like the best treat you've ever had, or the best massage you've ever had. It could be the best orgasm you've ever had. Anything, like the best possible of all the senses that you can combine. So like the sight, the taste, the smell, everything exploding out of your body to the point where all of those like things that you taste and whatnot, like it's completely like, it does not even compare. Bliss is just like soaking in absolute like love and joy and gratitude. And like, you just don't care about anything at all. And it is, when you truly taste bliss, it is like, it's life. Like you don't need anything else. And it's an incredible experience.
Your story is fascinating. And what makes it so energizing and what makes it so I think such a great example of what's possible for athletes is you went from this moment of deep despair through this kind of somewhat gradual transformation to a point where you suddenly said, on the maybe on the end of this transformation, hey, I need to change the energy that I'm around, right? I have to make a radical shift in the space that I occupy, in the people that I'm around, the thoughts, the feelings, the energy that I really allow into my system. What was that journey like for you, from being an athlete that, gets exposed to this spiritual development, the spiritual growth, to going, oh my gosh, this thing that I loved really isn't the right place for the vibration I'm at right now?
It was lonely at first, I had started to understand these spiritual concepts and energy and like law of attraction and oneness, consciousness, meditation, vegetarianism, all these things. And each one of those topics is the exact opposite of a hockey player's discussion in the dressing room. Like guys are chirping one another. They're not caring necessarily about like feeling that deep connection. And you tell somebody that you're a vegetarian, they'll kind of look at you, and there's that understanding within the dressing room that hockey players should be living and is a certain way. And obviously there's some stray people in there that don't fall into that line, but I was getting further and further and further away, and I was kind of embarrassed. Like I didn't want to tell guys that I was a vegetarian. I didn't want to tell guys that I'm not going to drink anymore. I didn't tell guys that I was spending 2-3 hours meditating at night or practicing yoga. And so everything that I was doing and learning was very personal, and I didn't express it with anybody. And so that did make it kind of lonely. And then, the next thing, before you know it, I'm wanting to go to India, and I see this guru, and then, I have this guru now, and now I have him on my neck and all these things. And it's like, I know that process was very lonely, and it was very difficult for me to go through. And it got to a point where I just felt like I can't be around these guys anymore. Like I love hockey. I love the players. Nothing but great guys, but it's like, I don't care about talking about like, picking up girls or, going to the bar or even like little problems. Like I started to see things from a deeper and more powerful space. And so much like the saying, you are like the 5 most people that you spend your time with. I took that to heart, and I was like, well, everything I'm learning, I want to expand my consciousness. I want to, elevate my frequency. I want to taste enlightenment. I want to experience what reality really is. And so it got to a point where it was just like, this isn't where I should be. I should be living amongst people that have similar values. And so I made that difficult decision, but it ended up being the best decision of my life.
So what's really fascinating is when we think about pain in general, right? When you are an athlete competing at that level, you're waking up sore every day, right? In season, you're not going to go through a season without injury. Sometimes it's more severe or less severe, but your body's just taking a physical beating. Yet at the same time, I know from some of the content you've shared, and also just what it's like to train in these sacred places, your body is being put through just as physically a rigorous, if not more physically rigorous environment, yet we wake up feeling much different, it seems like. Can you draw that distinction?
You can look at this from an energy standpoint. So we all know energy exists and everything is energy, but obviously there's different varieties and forms of energy. And when you're in a place, let's say, where there's a lot of negative thinking and that heavy density, that can bring you down. Like you can just imagine walking into a room where a bunch of people were just told that their mother had died. Like you can just feel that energy. Now, for me, what I really experience is when I'm in the space of an enlightened master, when I'm in India and I'm performing and living in a consecrated space, that is where it's like the highest energy. And you're constantly, like the law of resonance, like you have to vibrate to the stronger resonancy. So if you're walking into a room where 10 people just found out their mother had died or something, naturally that energy is going to pull you down, and you're going to be like, yeah, like I feel this. Now, subsequently, if you're walking into a place where everybody just won, let's say there's 10 people in there and they all just split $100 million lottery ticket, they're jumping up and down, they're all excited, and you go in there, you're like, what happened? They're like, we just won 100 million. Everybody just jumped. Like that high energy, you get drawn to it. And so for me, what I really noticed between moving from a hockey, dressing room environment and that type of ecosystem to living in an ashram and being with people that practice yoga and meditation and are working towards a higher state of consciousness, like the frequencies just like you cannot compare the two, and you can really feel the difference when you enter into a space like that.
Do you think there are ways that we could cultivate a similar energy within a locker room, within a hockey locker room, right? So that we can leverage those kind of energies for athletes and for teams, so that we can raise that vibration in these moments?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And that's one thing that's why I say I love what you're doing. This needs to happen because sport is a way for us to cultivate and grow a society the way that we want. And I owe so much to the sport of hockey. Everything that I am today is because that I grew up in that environment and that type of structure, which you just don't get in a regular school system, or even if you go off and play some other, let's say like recreational sport. It's not the same. It's not that same training ground. And so those types of qualities, absolutely, though, they can be developed and you can infuse that into individuals. And, a lot what my guru teaches, he has these 4 qualities, which is authenticity, integrity, responsibility, and enriching. If every athlete had those 4 qualities, you'd have a team, let's say, of captains. If everybody really stuck to something like that, and how they would then, get involved with the community and impact those lives, because sports are very much involved. Any city I went to, we had that leverage to impact the community. And I think if the athletes, if they start with that, it's definitely a good way to impact the rest of society.
So there's this shift occurring, I think, in a lot of skill positions in sport, and we're seeing it. I think, and you can tell me if it's something you experience in hockey too, but we're seeing it more in football, more in basketball, more in soccer, where flexibility, that yogic body and conditioning, is becoming more and more recognized for the value it has, right, in performance, in what it can do for us physically. And it's interesting to consider that it's not just a physical choice that we're making, but it also has spiritual components to it and outcomes related to it as well.
The main way that it's kind of started is just like yoga. Yoga became popular because of its physical benefits, right? And so you see athletes focusing more on yoga and flexibility, but I think it takes away like 5% of their power, their overall power, but what it gives is like a longer life. And so you're seeing guys like LeBron James focus more on being flexible than having that 5% extra power and whatnot. So that physical benefit is there for sure. But yeah, when it comes to the mind and then the spirit, of course, that's where the real benefits are going to be as well. You become so much more aware of what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And then rather than just acting and impulsing, you have the ability to assess and even just allow certain things to happen and really go with that flow. And it can, that being said, it can be difficult for an athlete. I mean, at the end of my career, I was a captain and we'd lose a game. And in my mind, I'm like, it's okay. Like, just let it flow, let it go. But I have to be like, no, like this can't happen. Like throw my gloves and everything. And you kind of have to show that, this investment and how important it is. But it's an interesting dichotomy of how that works. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can look at it. As far as the spiritual benefits, there's a slew of things. For me, it is getting into that state of the zone. Like when you're training as a hockey player, if you can get into the zone, or if you're training as an athlete, if you get into the zone, then that is the spiritual experience.
I think ferociousness, tenacity, these words power, even to a certain extent, we don't always associate with spiritual strength or development.
Man, I mean, if you've never meditated, try and sit down for, 5 minutes and and see how many times your mind wanders before you catch it to bring it back. You need a will persistence, which is like unending, to sit down with your mind and really just for, like, let's say even 3 hours now, to sit down for 3 hours with your mind is going to take incredible tenacity and ferociousness. And that's where it's ultimately coming back to. You're coming back to being ferocious with the mind, whether it's your mind or somebody else's mind at play. Ferociousness in this sense, it can be will persistence, where it's you're so ferocious in one moment, and then again in the next moment with one thought that comes, and then with one thought that comes, and it's this battle in every frame that you're facing, and you never know what that frame is going to be. And so tenacity and ferociousness is really will persistence, in a point where you have to be in that state. You have to be really locked into that cognition that I will be willing to do whatever it takes. I will be will persistent. And that's how you develop willpower. It's just will persistence in small fragments.
What is the view and the connection to ourselves we have to have in order to maintain that level of persistence and willpower?
That's the best question you could have asked, I would say, is what do you perceive yourself to be? Who are you? And that's the ultimate question, really. And if one way I like describing it is, we can basically agree that we're not our body. You know, you can even have a lobotomy. You could take a part of your brain and look at it, and you could still be awake and functioning. So we know we're not our brain. We know we're not our body. Now, when you see your mind wandering and then you catch it and you're like, why did I think that? You now know that you're not your mind. So now we know we're not our body. We know we're not our mind. So what are you? Who are you? And well, you're the awareness of somebody that's seeing the body or somebody that's seeing the mind. And so what is that essence? And ultimately, this is what every spiritual truth comes down to. It's what the path is about, is the self-realization. Like, what am I? Who am I? And enlightenment is ultimately realizing that there is no one I, that we are all the same individual, which is a unified field, which quantum physics is calling it, a unified field of consciousness. So my consciousness isn't here. It's not here. It's actually everywhere that you could possibly see. That's my consciousness. Your consciousness is also there. And so what is this consciousness? It's holding all this matter. It's holding all this life. It's the creator of the cosmos itself. It's all powerful. And when you want to tune into athletics, or who you want to perceive yourself to be, whatever it is you want to achieve in life, you need to download and resonate and align to that essence that you are all powerful. You can create and do anything you want. And in Sanskrit, we call that Paramashivoham. So you are the ultimate, and everything around you is ultimately you, and you can create whatever it is you want. So everything with yoga, with meditation that we do, with Nityananda Yoga, and what my guru Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashivam is teaching, is ultimately that you are Paramashiva, like everything. You are that ultimate consciousness.
That's powerful. Wow. Dridha, this has been really energizing. Before I ask my final question, where can these guys go to connect with you online?
Yeah, so I'm about to release a program called a free program, The Zone, the art and science of getting into the zone. So if somebody wants to keep their eyes peeled for that, I don't have a website for that, but you can also follow me on social media. It's Blissful Athlete, same handle for everything, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. So if they go there and follow me on that, then I'll post this program that I'm coming out with.
Awesome. This show, Dridha, is called Omni Athlete because we want to understand what it takes to be the ultimate body, mind, and spirit competitor. So the last question is, what does being an Omni Athlete mean to you?
Being an Omni Athlete, I think, coming back to that one question that you had asked before, is understanding who you are first before stepping into the game or into life. Who am I? What am I perceiving myself as? And an Omni Athlete is somebody that's above and beyond all others. An Omni Athlete would be somebody that understands and cognizes themselves as the ultimate, as the ultimate consciousness, as Paramashiva, as we refer to in Sanskrit.
That's powerful. Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Dridha, thank you for being on the show. This has been incredible. Guys, go check out the content that Dridha puts together. It is I can't overuse this word enough, incredible, and it's energizing and it's blissful, truly. And what you guys are going to find when you dive into his world is there is, number one, authenticity and integrity to a journey that as athletes, I think a lot of us are called to at least understand, if not go through. And what's so beautiful and what's so energizing about the way Dridha shares his journey is it doesn't feel out of touch. It feels connected. It feels easy to grab and understand and apply as an athlete to where you are right now. So if you have not yet, go follow him on any channel that he puts content on and just stay connected, because you are going to connect to a deeper sense of self as a result of that. And thank you guys for watching this episode of Omni Athlete. Hey, what is up, guys? Thank you for watching another episode of Omni Athlete. Please go like and subscribe to our podcast. That is our goal right now, is just to build this community as big as we possibly can, and we need your help to do it. So like and subscribe, share our content, guys. If this content adds any value to your world, that helps you perform, connect, go deeper, go wider, whatever it is that it does for you, if it provides value, all we ask is that you share our content and help grow this community. We can't accomplish our goal of elevating global consciousness through sport without you. You are an integral part of this mission and this purpose, and we need your help. So please go like, subscribe, and share our content, and continue to help us build and grow this community that is truly motivated to not just elevate consciousness, but elevate and shift the very culture of sport, so that we can truly experience the athletic experience in a brand new and energizing way for so many people, guys. So thank you, and please like and subscribe. Until next time.